nice. We ask that you be serious with your comments. And up until this point, and I think they will be still in the future, the folks at the Forestry Service have been very cordial to us. They've been honest with us, and we want to continue to be that way with them, and we want to keep our good working relationship with those folks. We'll have time at the end for you to write comments on your papers. We'll also have time at the end for questions and answers, and we'll have myself, Judge White, and whoever else up here to be able to try to answer those questions. Judge White is well more versed in this than I am. There's an old wives' tale where I grew up that if a snapping turtle ever gets a hold of you, it has to thunder before it'll let go. And I'm afraid the Forestry Service is going to hope that it thunders before Wade lets go. I promise you. We will ask that if you come to the microphone, or if you have a question, or if you have a comment, that you try to keep that down to a minute. You can look around and tell how crowded the room is, which is a great thing. It's good to see this many people out here tonight. A few people I want to say thank you to, and I'll tell a quick story after I thank some of these folks, because outside of Daniel Hale, who was my high school ag teacher, I knew very little about Land Between the Lakes and the history, because I was born in 1967, and as you well know, that was about the time the takeover was going on. Is that right, Donnie? So I was young, but Daniel Hale, we planted pine trees in the LBL for many years with the ag, so I knew a little bit about the Land Between the Lakes and between the rivers, just from being in Daniel Hale's ag class. But I want to thank, number one, Donnie Holland, who is a native from Golden Pond, and I want to thank J.B. Oakley, Jim Wallace, David Nickel, Johnny Wall, and Miss Della Oliver. These folks all give me a great education. We started about a year ago meeting and discussing roads and cemeteries, and I learned things that I never knew I would learn before. But let me get to what started that. I was appointed, just elected to my first term, but I was appointed to serve out a term of State Senator Stan Humphreys. Donnie Holland called me on a February day. It was cold. He said, we need to go to West Kentucky Economic Development meeting down at Paducah. Once you ride with me, you might meet some folks. So we headed out, and we headed west on 68. And I said to myself, why aren't we taking I-24? Well, it became apparent real quick that Donnie wanted to travel the Silver Trail, which is the trace. And Donnie gave me a little bit of education. But along that route, and I think I see Miss Maylou Lancaster back there, he told me the story about a gentleman named Conroy Atwood, who the government arrested on October the 27th, 1969, and took him to Louisville, Kentucky. And when he finally got home, 1 or 2 days later, she can tell the story better than I can, his house was pushed down. And it lit a fire down in my soul to not ever forget about the people from between the rivers, and to always fight for our roads and our cemeteries, and now for our forest over there. So that's a little background on that, and that's all I say. But I thank all those people for giving me an education. I thank the folks that started the BTR Facebook page. It's been very informative. There's a lot of information on there. There's a lot of things on there that will show you what's going on in between the lakes, or LBL, or BTR, or whichever you choose to call it. There's a lot of names, but it's between the rivers. I've got a couple of comments that come from a good friend of mine, Jan Colwell. She's right here on this front row, that she sent me a few weeks ago, and one of those is that nature may indeed lose and replace 2% of itself in any given year, but it does so throughout. Humans replace a much larger percentage of cells in any given year, but it does not require or involve amputation. I thought that was good. I thought that was really good. And she also said in that same email to me, any change in the LBL should result in an attractive area a person would want to visit. And I think what we're seeing over there in some of those areas is not what people want to see. They want to continue to see the canopy type forest. In 1994, TVA asked for comments about logging a 1,500 acre tract. I don't know exactly where that is, but this is documented. And they went to the University of Kentucky and they done a survey, and 74.2% of the people were opposed to logging in the land between the lakes. And where I come from, 51% rule. 74 is a little more than 51%. The Forestry Service tells us that the landscape restoration to a pre-European landscape, and this is out of their own documents, and it talks about restoring cane breaks, riparian areas, warm season grasslands, oak grasslands, oak hickory barrens, savannas, so on and so forth. The document goes on to say that restoring in a relatively short period of time, they can physically demonstrate to the public what it will look like and that it will work. I think they've yet to show us that it'll work. It hasn't had time. What they've got, I think they've got somewhere near 8,600 acres. Wade, where are you at? Is that correct? 800 acres is all that's in the grasslands. So they haven't proven to us yet that what they're wanting to do will work or is working. We want everyone here to know, and I think Daniel Hale and Lucas are here. Are you all still here? Maybe they left. I don't know. They're good friends of mine. They both cut timber. We want everyone in the room to understand we're not against private logging, or we're not talking against people cutting timber, but we're talking about not just absolutely ripping and tearing the land all to pieces and clear cutting, what I call clear cutting. Wade said I couldn't use that term, but I just did, and I apologize. But to me, it looks like clear cutting in some of those areas. Thank you all once again. I know you're not here to hear me speak and babble on. One more person I want to recognize that came with me tonight, one of our masters, Larry Lawrence. He's right back here at this back of this table. It's important to us in Trigg County that we continue to fight this fight for the Trigg Countyans, Lyon Countyans, anybody that was from between the rivers, Golden Pond, land between the lakes, again, whatever you want to call it. And at this time, I'd like to invite my good friend Donnie Holland to the podium, and I think he's going to talk to you for just a minute, and he's well more versed on what happened in the 60s than I was.